Good afternoon. Sorry to interrupt your lunch, everybody. Good afternoon. Let's try that again. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Awesome. Feel that STEM enthusiasm. Thank you. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Whether you're here in the ballroom with us this afternoon or if you're joining us from home, it's great to see everyone. I know that some of the lasagnas were just served within the last couple of minutes. This is the second time, I think, in the 18 years that we've done this conference that we've had a hot meal, which adds that dynamic. So long and short of it, if you just got your meal, please feel free to keep eating and clink your silverware and everything else. We understand you're probably hungry. So we're excited for many reasons today, this afternoon. We've got a fantastic keynote speaker. We're excited to give the Stemmy Awards away. We're excited, of course, just for the afternoon breakouts. But most of all, as I think I shared this morning, we're just excited that we're together. All of us can be in one room and virtually to work on the STEM issue together and connect around how we can do STEM education better and better serve kids and our young people. This is our first event in 20 months, but as we kind of alluded to at the morning general session, I think we're shaking the rust off. People, you feeling pretty good? Yeah. Awesome. It's good. This is, in fact, the 18th year of STEMnow, which is hard to believe. I know this number is significant because I have an 18-year-old at home who regularly tells me that she is now an adult, even though we still pay for everything, so you know how that works. But fittingly, I guess STEMnow has reached adulthood, I guess, as well. Theoretically, it could vote, it could get drafted if there was such a thing. So it's finally reached adulthood. Looking ahead, I would be excited to share that there's a lot of early enthusiasm on the part of our planning committee for the 21st anniversary, which is coming up in just a few years. There's a lot of talk about an open bar concept all day, so just mark your calendars. October 2025 is going to be fantastic. The brainstorming, I'm sure, will be probably the best ever. So seriously, though, we do want to, excellent. We do want to pause a moment and just thank the actual planning committee. All the way back to the beginning of this event, it has been planned by a committee of community members who identify really what are the STEM issues, the STEM trends that are important and current locally, and then putting together breakouts and curating a conference that reflects that. So we couldn't do it without our planning committee. We had one of our best groups ever and one of our largest. We had 15 folks that are all listed up there on the screen. Could I have a round of applause for our planning committee, please? They are all volunteers, and in addition to coming to the meeting, many of them are here volunteering again today, so we do appreciate that. Did want to take just a minute. I know we have a few new faces in the crowd to share a little bit about STEM Forward. As many of you know, we are an independent nonprofit, fortunately housed at Milwaukee School of Engineering. We are all about inspiring that next generation of engineers, scientists, computer scientists, but helping also really all kids, encouraging them to be strong in STEM. We also want to enrich STEM education by helping make that career connection. So all nonprofits exist for a reason. That's why we do. Our activities fall into one of three categories. We implement programs. Our staff recruits STEM volunteers. We work with teachers and schools to implement hands-on programs. Secondly, we serve as a hub, so if you're looking for information on local STEM programs, resources, you want to get involved as either a teacher or an employer volunteering, quite often STEM Forward is where you might reach out to get that information and get connected. And then thirdly, we host a variety of STEM events like the one that you're attending today to just carry forth the message of STEM, encourage best practices sharing, recognize excellence in STEM. So events, programs, and kind of a hub. I would encourage anybody who hasn't to visit our website, stemforward.org. A lot of great information there, and certainly you can join our newsletter and check out all our social media. Our activities, take a quick look at our activities. We offer a variety of K-12, and I'm speaking of programs now. Future Cities, Contrapt Wisconsin, and Day of STEM are our three primary programs at the K-12 level. This past year, we were really excited to introduce the Engineering Machine Design Contest, which is for high school students. It's similar to a Rube Goldberg contest, if you're familiar with that program, but really on steroids. There are a lot more engineering disciplines that are involved as the students create their machines. So a key characteristics of any STEM forward program is it's hands-on and it combines a STEM role model, somebody that is actually working in the field to interact and engage the students and hopefully inspire them. This last year, for us, as it's been for, I'm sure many of you, has been very unusual to say the least. I think candidly I would have to say I feel like we've pivoted so much we've probably ran in 20 circles, but we continue to persist, so that's good. And we were able to convert our full menu of in-person programs to online, so we were pleased that we were able to do that. In a typical year, we would serve around 3,500 students, but we did not hit that mark quite last year. So as we kind of serve in that STEM connector role that I had mentioned, wanted to just call your attention. We do have some upcoming events. We thought, what a great opportunity. We've got a captive audience to share some things coming up. Currently, STEM Forward is conducting a regional educator survey, and that's to benchmark what STEM programs are going on in the greater Milwaukee area. The goal of the survey is to identify any program gaps that might exist out there or needs that may or may not have arisen out of the pandemic or just might be STEM programming needs that educators would identify for their school or district. We're going to collect all this information and then share it out with all of you and with our other stakeholders over the course of the winter. We would ask educators, if you are a classroom teacher or an administrator, please visit the STEM Forward website by November 24th and take our survey. We want to advance and have good programs in our region. Secondly, the Milwaukee Tech Week. I mentioned this earlier. We are excited to be one of, I thought it was 40, but Kathy, thank you, is 50, is that right? 50. We're one of more than 50 events that are part of Milwaukee Tech Week. We're very fortunate to have Kathy with us for the bulk of the day, so thank you again, Kathy. I can't imagine your shoes must be worn thin. But formerly, Milwaukee Tech Week was Milwaukee Startup Week. Events run through Sunday, so we would encourage you to visit the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition's website. You still have time to attend more of their events coming up through this Sunday as we round out the week. Hour of Tech, now in its 4th year this December, the Milwaukee Hour of Code is expanding to become the Greater Milwaukee Hour of Tech. Local businesses, nonprofits, and schools will partner on the goal of engaging students in more than 10,000 hours of activities that demonstrate the possibilities of tech. So kind of started, it was coding, Hour of Code, and coding still is part of it, but if you are a teacher or an employer interested, it doesn't necessarily have to be coding. There is a wide variety of tech activities that you can do with kids. And so we would highly encourage you to visit the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition or contact STEM Forward for how either your business or your school could get involved. Awesome program. And lastly, as we discussed this morning, on January 20th, the Greater Milwaukee STEM Ecosystem, which is a local collaboration of organizations working to better connect our STEM efforts regionally, will be holding a design session facilitated by TIES. And TIES is it's the national group that coordinates these STEM organizations. There's more than 90 of them around the country. You are all invited to that session. We really want to have stakeholder input on what our regional effort around STEM is going to look like, and you are a key part of that. So at your tables, one of the flyers, I know there's a lot of stuff on your table right now, but you can actually look at the save the date and actually register for that event. I realize it's January, but we would love to have you there. And with that, I believe we are all caught up. Just one more order of business before we get to the STEMmies. In a year and an event where candidly we were facing, I think, more challenges and uncertainty than ever, we do appreciate the support of our sponsors to help make it possible. I can share that when you add live streaming and virtual production on top of an in-person event with meals and rooms, it certainly doesn't get any less expensive. So we really appreciate our sponsors' support through an uncertain year, not knowing what it would bring. So we couldn't do it without you. A round of applause, please, for our sponsors. And with that, it's time to move on to the anticipated awards portion of our program. It's my pleasure to introduce and welcome back our MC for the 2021 Stemmy Awards, Tariq Moody from 88.9 Radio. Tariq, you did double duty today. You were just doing the esports and gaming breakout, and now you're MCing for the third time. You are the Energizer Bunny. Maybe that's not the right connotation, but thank you. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Tariq Moody from 88.9 Radio.
Thank you, Rich, and good afternoon, everyone. Great to be back here in the Italian Community Center. Before I begin the award, I just wanted to share a couple of stories, if that's all right. Some people ask why this radio guy is here. My whole life, I was involved in STEM. Some of you heard this story last year. I learned a computer program at the age of 10 in 1983. I was always involved in tech. I went to computer camp instead of summer camp. All my jobs, all my opportunities led to my experiences now, today, including my recent promotion to program director of the station, of a new station we're launching next year called, it's an urban alternative station. We don't have a name yet, but I get an opportunity to partner up with some really cool people to do some new cool technology for the station. A startup in LA called Super Hi-Fi that use AI to create unique audio experiences. Their clients include iHeartRadio, Peloton, Sonos, and I've been working for them for almost 2 years now, so hopefully that will be coming out soon. But I want to share a story about somebody local. I have a podcast called Diverse Disruptors, where I talk about diverse entrepreneurs, innovators. Next week's guest is Henri Pierre Jacques of Harlem Capital, managing partner, raised about $134 million in his second round. And some of that went to a graduate of MPS school, Riverside High School, an undocumented worker now based in Chicago by the name of Ruben Flores. Harlem Capital invested $2.7 million in the startup. He has 20 employees, self-taught computer programmer, doing amazing things now, and it's about to announce another closeout investments of $12 million. And he's an undocumented student. Now he has a citizenship. So, just to show you the power of STEM can go a long way. With that said, on behalf of 88.9, I'm excited to introduce this year's Stemmy Awards. The Stemmies were established in 2005 to recognize organizations and individuals that demonstrate a unique approach or unparalleled commitment to promoting STEM awareness and improving the STEM competency of students. The Stemmies are presented annually in 4 categories: education, partnership, individual, and an employer. As usual, the selection committee had a difficult task as all our nominees are doing great work. And now for our nominees. What?
Our winners.
Did I say nominees?
Yeah, they're all winners.
I now have reader glasses now, so I don't wear them because getting old. I already got the gray, I don't need the glasses. Our first Excellence in STEM Awards in the education category goes to Cedarburg School District for execution of their district-wide STEAM plan. In 2017, Cedarburg embarked on a project to define a new direction for STEM education in the district focused on the future learning needs and workforce readiness skills. A team of educators and community members, led by Director of Curriculum Alan Groff, developed a comprehensive plan which included a facilities upgrade to provide collaborative learning spaces, providing all students with integrated project-based learning opportunities, offering professional development for staff on engineering and design, and developing an elementary-level engineering curriculum. Following school board approval of the plan, STEM learning opportunities for students has exploded. Aspects include new dedicated maker spaces in schools, implementation of a design and engineering process through all grade level curriculums, adding a Rockenbach engineering program at the elementary level, construction of a new STEAM wing and innovation center at the high school, the addition of PLTW programs and new courses such as high school drone class. Was that it? That was it?
They can speak to it.
Okay. Fast forward, Cedarburg now provides integrated state-of-the-art STEM education where students at all grade levels incorporate concepts into hands-on experiences for sustainability and growth. The district created and tracks students' participation in STEM learning through a STEM scorecard. By all metrics, Cedarburg's STEAM plan has been transformational with very positive results. Students are learning STEM and making their mark nationally for their coding and robotic accomplishments. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in recognizing the Cedarburg School District. Accepting on behalf of Cedarburg today is Alan Groff, Director of Curriculum and Instruction.
Thank you so much. Well, I left my speech specifically at my seat because we have about 2 minutes and they gave a really wonderful introduction. So again, Alan Groth, Director of Curriculum and Instruction. It's an absolute honor to be here on behalf of the school district. And it's hard to believe here we are 5 years later and we see, like Jim Collins says, the flywheel is moving. So if you're familiar with his research, he talks about momentum starting to grow. And we're seeing that in our system where teachers are collaborating across content areas, applying the engineering and design process together, art and tech ed teachers. And all throughout the system, we see this starting to occur. And so I can't say enough that I represent a myriad of people that can't be here today. My wife and I were watching the Dove Awards, and I'm like, on Friday, I'm like, oh, they don't have any slide decks that they can share, and they don't have any props that they're coming up. I could bring my guests with me up here, though I have a few with me that I want to highlight. But I do want to say, I think the photographs that were shared in the slide deck and what was shared shows you a glimpse into a collective response. Our mission is to help students reach their goals and dreams. And so when that, sorry, it's kind of hits a strong little spot in my heart. When that tech ed advisory team met, that was our focus, all students. What could we do as a system to ensure that when kids leave the senior year, that they're strong, that they're able to navigate their future, they can make decisions that are in the best interest of themselves, that they've had experiences in the school system that really prepare them to really educationally make the right next step. We're committed to that. The system was committed to that. The community was committed to that. Business leaders were committed to that, and we remained a comprehensive high school. So if you attend Cedarburg Schools, a guaranteed experience is that we start with you young at 4 years of age, teaching you the design and engineering process. It's something we believe you can take into life. It doesn't have to be, you can use the process. We are faced with problems all the time. The process teaches students and gives them background and understanding on how you approach a problem and how to build prototypes and test things out, and eventually you arrive at a solution. So it crosses all content areas. And so I stand here just so excited at the momentum that we're seeing in our system and the support of the Cedarburg community parents. We had no idea a referendum was in the works. That came after this team had met, and one of the recommendations was to address the facilities. And then Cedarburg community members and families stepped up and said, we're in. And so all of a sudden, all these things just start falling into place so beautifully. So I'm really grateful. Grateful for Superintendent Todd Bagnacki, raise your hand, who's here, who, allows us to dream, no restraints. And so whenever I approach projects, there aren't limitations put on me. So it's just dream big. That's actually written into our foundation document. So he allows that, and we see where it goes. And so those kinds of limitless boundaries really promote an educational system that is great for students, great for teachers, great for the community, I believe great for the world. So I acknowledge your leadership and your support. And I have with me Kirsten Lindstrom Collins and Krista Penrod. So we're a lean system, we're not a big school district, and all hands on deck. So the two colleagues that are with me today are really innovators, creative thinkers. I love having smart people around me that help to support these initiatives. So with all that said, I proudly received this award on behalf of the Cedarburg School District and the families and the students that we serve. Thank you very much.
Our next Stemmy is in the partnership category. This year, we are pleased to recognize the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition and HERA, the Higher Education Resource Alliance. This summer, the MKE Tech Coalition led the implementation of pre-internship programs focused on the ethics and impact of data and AI. Employer representatives, I can't even speak today for some strange reason. Employer representatives. I'm on radio. From the Coalition K220 Committee stepped forward to help implement the experience along with the Commons and Matthew Friedel of UWM to develop the curriculum. The Higher Education Regional Alliance evaluated the pre-internship and improved its eligibility for a new badge credential as part of HERA's mission to align educational programs with the needs of Southeastern Wisconsin economy. Both HERA and the Coalition have identified data and AI as a critical talent need. With the data and AI badge in place, months of collaborative work on the delivery of learning outcomes, student recruitment, curriculum, outside speakers, and project-based learning began. Ultimately, 85 high school students were selected from more than 40 schools, with 87% of the groups historically underrepresented in tech. For students, the program shined a light on the impact data and AI has on local industries, as well as civic life and the environment. They learn the power and consequences of technology and how critical diverse backgrounds are to the development of solutions. By using data tools, they also learn how to capture, discern, and tell compelling story to make informed decisions, in addition to increasing their human and technical literacies. They also develop peer and professional networks. At completion, the students achieved a valuable credential both in industry and education, with HERA working to confirm the badges translation to credit at their member institutions. Discussions on how to serve more students in the future years are already underway. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring the MKE Tech Hub Coalition and HERA with the 2021 Stemmy Awards. Accepting the award today are Kathy Heinrich, CEO of the MKE Tech Coalition, and Phyllis King, Vice Provost of UW-Milwaukee, representing HERA.
Thank you. On behalf of the Higher Education Regional Alliance, I just want to thank STEM Forward for this honor and this award, and certainly the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition for their partnership. Special appreciation also goes to the many partners that you saw up there who worked really hard to design and support this program, including industry mentors, the Commons, Matt Feidel as the curriculum lead, and MSOE, Carroll University, Marquette University, and others. It was really a terrific partnership for students to really learn the value of data, which is everywhere, and AI in industry, and support that through real-world experiences. So there's nothing better than applying those principles. The offering really met the demand for a short-term, more accessible and affordable way of learning. So it came at a perfect time. The fact that HERA was validating these skills and learning with a badge just, I think, makes a statement that that it was quality, it was rigorous, it was involving employers. It was everything that we stood for in terms of quality educational programming in STEM. I know that UWM is working hard right now to turn it into a credit and this badge into credit, and I'm sure that others will be doing the same. And with that, I think it was a huge success this summer, so I hope that this will be the first foray that you'll see into a strategy that will move forward. So thank you very much.
So first of all, I could just say ditto, but I won't. So I'm Kathy Henrich, the CEO of the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition, which has the mission of inclusively doubling tech talent in the Milwaukee region in order to both create enduring economic prosperity and create life-changing jobs. And this really is one of those pathways to creating life-changing jobs. And in addition to the student component, there was also an educator workshop to essentially to extend the impact of that, and also a tech career expo. But none of that would have been possible without somebody that couldn't be here today. And I sound weird, but Laura Schmidt has done an amazing job setting the vision and executing through partnerships and making sure it could all happen. So I want to say thank you to her, who couldn't be here today, but to all of our members and partners who provided their feedback on a regular basis to make sure that what we were producing actually met the needs of the employers at the end. And we could not have done it without all of it. It really is a great example of being able to create impact at scale when we do it together and do it in collaboration. So thank you.
Good, Kathy? Quick photo.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Shane. Congratulations.
Representative. Yes. Okay. All right. Our next Stemmy is the first ever in the employer category, and it goes to Menominee Valley Partners, a locally based nonprofit. Menominee Valley Partners works to revitalize and sustain the Menominee Valley to provide economic, ecological, and social equity benefits for Milwaukee. We recognize them today for their outstanding STEM career and education outreach efforts. In response to input from businesses, neighborhood groups, and MPS, in 2012, the Menominee Valley Partners, or MVP, launched a Career Discovery Initiative, a wide collection of programs to connect students from neighboring high schools with career paths, mentors, and service opportunities. More than 35 corporate partners makes this program possible each year. Activities include the Young Women in Manufacturing and STEM program, an initiative that pairs girls with more than 20 women role models working in male-dominated careers to provide the girls with a variety of job, shadow, and mentorship experiences. MVP also coordinates many career fair events, including the Career Expo during Valley Week, where students get to meet with and learn about businesses, career pathways, and engage with panels on career topics. Also part of the initiative is the Rotational Engineering Internship Program, which places high school students in local businesses where they can learn about careers in engineering and architecture. Woohoo, architecture. As they work alongside engineers and architects. Additional activities implemented by MVP include the IT Service Learning Program, Pipeline to Work Symposium, and Young Women in Real Estate Program. For participants, many of whom are girls, students of color, or come from disadvantaged homes, these programs offer a rare career connection opportunity. Over the course of the last 9 years, the Career Discovery Initiative has grown and evolved tremendously, now serving more than 320 students annually. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring Menominee Valley Partners. Accepting on behalf of Menominee Valley Partners is Katrina Crane.
So I typed something because I will ramble like crazy. My name is Katrina Crane. I'm the Director of Workforce and Business Solutions for the Menominee Valley Partners. And as a representative and convener of services for the Menominee Valley Business Improvement District, I'm indeed elated to be awarded in the employer category. The Menominee Valley Discovery Career Initiative is a group of industry partners and employers that are vested in our youth and giving back to the community. This award will consistently remind me of how it all started, and roughly 9 years later, all of the hard work and effort our team and businesses put into creating programming to meet the needs of our Milwaukee youth and community, getting to where it is actually right now. Even in COVID, our team and our partners put together a unique 6-week rotational engineering internship that provided robust engagement for students of color, because area schools said it was a huge missing component while in COVID. Our employers desired to provide the experience and rushed in with me to create this really last-minute opportunity to give these students that opportunity. It gives me so much joy that our efforts were not overlooked. So with that, I want to say thank you to you all in your individual roles in STEM development, but I want to thank the partnership of great companies like those behind me, which are Zimmerman and EMCS, and even one of our other partner companies that's here today, Komatsu, that if it wasn't for these champions that are at these companies who are willing and to dive deep and make this happen, these opportunities would not happen. So I actually ask you guys to give them a big thank you, because it's really, we need those champions. So most importantly, I want to let this award be a beacon of what we can all achieve together. Employer collaborations do definitely work. Thank you, guys.
Our final Stemmy is the individual category. This year's Stemmy goes to Stacy Zaya. Over the course of her more than 20-year career, Stacy Zaya has been a dedicated advocate for all students, especially girls and children of color, to access STEM programs and see themselves in STEM careers. Starting her career as an elementary classroom teacher, in 2000, Stacy joined the Time Warner Cable and in 2009 was tasked with the regional launch of their national STEM outreach program, Connect a Million Minds. Overseeing this program, Stacy helped generate increased awareness of STEM education across our region and created and support many excellent programs and events. These include MPS school partnerships, STEM Fest at Discovery World, First Lego League events, Girl Scout programs, and many more. Stacy's STEM journey continued at Rockwell Automation from 2017 to 2020, which she led the company's K-12 STEM outreach. She coordinated Rockwell's program in collaboration with national nonprofits, including First, PLTW, and the Mind Research Institute. She also coordinated local partnerships with Milwaukee-based organizations such as MPS, Sharp Literacy, and the Boys and Girls Club. In 2020, Stacy joined Northwestern Mutual to lead their K-12 Tech Outreach program a portfolio of programs. This includes leading the company's High Tech Initiative, a collection of programs that connect students with meaningful experiences in tech, along and STEM mentors and role models. Always optimistic with great problem-solving skills, throughout her career, Stacy has provided expertise to many organizations and nonprofit boards, including First, STEM Forward, Million Women Mentors, and the Milwaukee Tech Hub. Over the years, truly thousands of local students have gained the opportunity to participate in STEM learning thanks to Stacy's work. According to Antonia Rodriguez from MPS, Stacy approaches school partnerships to lend a helping hand or provide a cheering squad when we need it. There are countless examples of her leadership and decision-making style. She represents the best of Milwaukee's business professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring Stacy Zaya.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Tariq. It truly is so great to be here, honestly, to see all your faces and knowing, too, there's individuals on virtually. So, again, so great to be with you all, and I just love the energy in this room around our passion for STEM. I truly am humbled to be accepting this award. I know those leaders that have received this award in the past, many of you that are in this room. I know Joe and Kathy, Laura, who Kathy mentioned earlier, has also received this, so truly humbled, and then also to be among the other honorees today for all the work that you're doing in STEM. Truly, it does take all of us to be doing this work together, and that's all of us in this room that are doing this work. So I will say it's a little surreal to receive this award, Rich. We were just talking about this earlier. When I worked at Time Warner Cable, I used to order those awards. So I would go pick them up and bring them to the event. And one thing that I enjoyed was I got to, learn about who the honorees were, and I was always inspired by that because of that commitment. So to be receiving it today is truly an honor. So thank you to you, Rich, and thank you to the team. Thank you to the board of directors. I see board of directors that I was able to serve on with when I was on the board of STEM Forward for almost 10 years. So truly a great organization, and love the energy that I continue to see from the organization. So I want to keep going a little bit with my thank yous here. Nandini Sinha, I see you there. Thank you so much. Nandini nominated me for this award, and I'm just truly grateful for you, Nandini. Said I wasn't going to do that. But Nadini and I worked together for over 10 years now. So I'm going to collect myself. We started together when I was at Time Warner Cable. She was at St. Joan and Tita, and we did a Girls in STEM event, and just our relationship has continued to form throughout that, and working with Sharp Literacy now in the Design Through Code program in roles that I've had. So again, Nandini, thank you. I'm truly blessed for our partnership and for your friendship. Thank you. And to others in the room too, that Ashley, I see you there. Thank you for your letter of support. And Antonio, I know we were here today. I don't see you now, but Antonio Rodriguez from MPS, Carrie Wetstein, there he's over there. Carrie Wetstein from Maker Faire, Milwaukee. and also Liz Taylor from MSUE. Truly great partners and great friends and supporters, so love working with all of you so much. As I was looking at these pictures when I was pulling them together, it made me reflect on, again, how grateful I am for the experiences that I've had. And so I am very fortunate that I was able to work for an amazing company like Time Warner Cable and get my STEM journey off and running through Connect a Million Minds, and then on to an incredible organization like Rockwell Automation and colleagues here from Rockwell, and so the leadership there and how much I learned through my experiences with Rockwell to be able to continue to grow and expand and work on partnerships with STEM, and then now in my role at Northwestern Mutual. So lucky to be at Northwestern Mutual, leading the high-tech program with an amazing team, and we are just working to do great work in advancing STEM and advancing career opportunities for young people, especially those underrepresented in tech. So again, I just want to thank all of you that are in this room. We've been at many events together. We're doing this work together, and that's how we're going to keep getting it done. In our panel that we had earlier, we talked about collective impact, we talked about collaboration, and that's how we're all going to do this, and I'm just excited to continue to dive in. There's a lot more work to do. We can all do that together, and I'm excited to be on that journey with all of you. As I wrap up, because I save it for the last, my husband and my daughter, I said I wasn't going to do that again. You saw my daughter on the opening photo, but let me thank my husband, Greg, for his support, and to my daughter, Tess. So many of you might remember her when she was like 5, and she would be like stocking like squishy Legos and yo-yos and silly putty for me at our Connect a Million Minds booth. Ashley probably remembers that from the Girl Scouts with Discovery World when we were there, but she was kind of like my sidekick for a while, doing all that. And so whether it's the joy that I see in my daughter or the joy that I see when a student is inspired by a STEM opportunity, or Tanya Mishra, who you might have heard from this morning if you were here through the opening session, one of our former mini camp students who now is an internship at Time Warner Cable at Northwestern Mutual. Those are the things that inspire me, and those are the things that bring me joy to do this work, and I know that that's what brings all of us joy and brings us together today. So thank you so much. Truly an honor. Thank you.
Rich, can you make the typeface a little bit bigger? I think that was the problem.
I can turn it. I'll see you next year. Absolutely.
Let's have one last round of applause for all this year's recipients of the Rich Stemmies. I'm happy now to bring back to the stage Rich Merkel, Executive Director of STEM Forward.
Perfect. Thank you, Tariq. Awesome. Thank you, Tariq, and fantastic job as usual. Wow, you know, the conference, it's hard for me to quantify what I enjoy the most. We've had a lot of great breakouts and speakers over the years, but it's got to be between the Gen STEM kids and the STEMmies. It's so inspirational. So congratulations again. All 4 of our recipients are doing fantastic work to move the needle truly locally for kids in STEM. Nan, I saw you trying to video Stacy's acceptance. Both general sessions, I'm sorry I neglected to mention this earlier, are being recorded. You'll be able to access that through coming to this event. So that'll be available in a day or two. So rest assured you'll be able to see the video, or anybody else that wants to watch any of this again. It'll be available for you. All right, so moving on. It's my pleasure now to introduce our speaker. We're very excited about this. Justin Shaifer, excuse me, also known as Mr. Fascinate, is a rising star in STEM education and advocacy, and is also a top voice in technology. Far from camera shy, Justin has hosted science TV shows with WGBH Boston, the Travel Channel, and Al Roker Entertainment. Justin's goal is to be for STEM what ESPN is for sports, and inspire young people to embrace their inner nerd, say that 3 times, despite their surroundings. And this springs really from Justin's own experience growing up on the south side of Chicago in a single-parent household. Justin had little awareness of a potential for a STEM career, so he ultimately was self-taught, always fascinated by science, and ultimately earned a NASA scholarship to attend Howard University, where he earned his degree in environmental science. He kickstarted his professional career with the popular TED Talk, and I'm paraphrasing the name of it, How to Speak to Generation Z, and continues to reach millions with his content, speeches, and workshops. Justin's work has been featured on ABC, Forbes, Essence, and many other media outlets. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from sunny California, please join me in a warm Milwaukee welcome for Justin Shaifer. Justin. Is that good enough? Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Rich. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. What's going on? How we doing? All right, I know the lunch has settled in a little bit. We might be getting a little drowsy, but I'm going to give you all energy, expecting to receive that energy in return. Can I expect that? Cool. Okay, great. We got a good audience here. All right, so I'm going to talk to y'all about equityology, keys to building a diverse STEM workforce. And as Rich said, thank you for the introduction, by the way. I'm Mr. Fascinate. I travel all over the world doing a lot of different things. I wear a lot of different hats. One of them is that I am a science TV producer and host, so I actually just wrapped a show in Ohio about plastics, the innovation that's occurring, and the recycling of plastics. It's going to be on a streaming platform. I can't talk about that yet. And I have another deal with a show coming out on a big streaming platform that I can't talk about yet either, unfortunately. But you all will know me. If you don't right now, you'll know me in the future from science TV shows. And I've done speaking. I've done TED Talks, commencement speeches. I've spoken all over the world to students about the power of STEM, to educators and corporate folks about what they can do to prepare their people for this upcoming innovative trend that's happening. But I think the best way to describe what I actually do is I'm a builder. I'm someone that sees problems, I identify problems, and come up with these weird, kooky, innovative solutions. And I build teams around that to basically help me do that because I suck at some of the accountability stuff and the administrative stuff and things like that, right? So I want to talk about the state of STEM today. Now, I think I'm going to be preaching to the choir about a lot of these technologies based on what I've heard already, been super impressed. But how many of us are familiar with at least 3 of these technologies? Okay, great. So 3D printing, right? How many of us know that there's houses you can 3D print for $10,000 right now? Some of us, okay, great. Oh, okay, we got a good audience here. AI machine learning, I'm sure a lot of us know that every time you're Google searching, you're outsourcing your thought process to AI. So people are like, I'm not sure if I trust my machines to make decisions for me. We're all already doing that. When we want to go to a local restaurant, we see the reviews or we see the star ratings, right? And those are all provided for us by AI and machine learning. Genomics research. How many of us are familiar with regenerative medicine and the 3D printing of organs and the fact that people can now regenerate real stems, real like eyeballs and repair blindness from stem cells? Great. Commercial space flight, we've all seen the whole Jeff Bezos thing, the billionaire pissing contest. Really interesting, and interesting things happen when billionaires compete with each other, all right? And then robotics, of course. One of the things I thought was really cool, how many of us have seen those Boston Dynamics videos with the robots that are dancing, even the more recent ones where they become even smoother? I thought, okay, like, you know, historically, right, all robots kind of are stiff and not dexterous, but these robots are like smooth. They do stuff with their hips and it's just crazy, right? But one of my favorite things that I want to talk about right now is blockchain. I think it's the hottest topic on the market right now. And my thesis is that blockchain in the 2020s is what the internet was in the 80s. Now, unfortunately, I'm a millennial, so I don't remember the 80s, but But I can imagine that if someone was walking around in the 80s talking about, hey, there's this new thing called the World Wide Web. It's going to change the world. You take a website and you go online, people would be like, was that like an actual web, like a real spider web? And like, is there like a real line that you like tug? Is it 2 cups attached to a string? I feel like these are the questions that people were asking. It's this whole series of innovations, these new terms, and people didn't understand them, right? And I think blockchain is foundationally disruptive in the same type of way with all this new terminology like cryptocurrency and smart contracts and ledgers and dApps. And we kind of don't really all understand yet how it's going to disrupt our world today. But at least we have an inkling at where that's going. So Web 1.0, as we all remember, well, some of us may not remember. I know there's some Gen Zers in the room. How many of us know? Gen Zers, I have no idea what that means, right? Okay, yeah, so that is the sound of dial tone. That's dial-up internet. That's when the internet wasn't super high speed. A lot of the Web 1.0 apps and websites were based on dial-up internet. You access a page, and it's a one-way street. Web 2.0, social media, we're all familiar with that. That's where we are today. A lot of our major apps, they use our data, and they get bigger because they provide access to their service for free. Web 3.0, which is now possible because of blockchain, is completely disrupting all of that infrastructure. Right? And so now you have people that use the platform and can make money from using the platform. So imagine if just by scrolling on Instagram, you got paid to do that. That's what the next generation of apps is becoming. And one of the more exciting technologies that is really practical and hands-on in this space is NFTs. How many of us are on the wave? How many of us are familiar with NFTs? Okay, great. It's going to be pretty educational. So NFTs are called non-fungible tokens. How many of us have ever collected sports cards? Gen Zers collected Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Digimon cards, or have kids that are collecting them. So NFTs are the digital equivalent to Pokemon cards. These are basically digital art that, because of what's called smart contracts, you can attribute to the original creator. So you can know with certainty that this person created this original image, right? So this is one of the very first collections of NFTs. These each are called CryptoPunks. This was created in 2017, around when the Ethereum cryptocurrency was created. And would you believe that each one of these little characters is worth $250,000? Do you all believe that? So, well, you can check it. This is literally the lowest price you can buy one of these things for, and there are some that are selling for over $1 million. I saw a tweet from the rapper Busta Rhymes a couple of days ago, and he was like, should I buy a house or should I buy an 8-bit digitized crypto version of a monkey? And then the person commented with a monkey as their profile picture. So a lot of people that buy NFTs, they make it their profile picture. And the person that commented said, well, actually, houses aren't really a good investment unless you have cash flow. And with NFTs, you can actually make money off of them. You get a return on your investment. So this might be a smarter investment in 2020 than a house. All right, food for thought. So all of this in the context of this upcoming generation called Generation Z, known as digital natives. Sure, some of you are familiar with that term. It means, for the most part, Gen Z kids have always had fast access to technology, iPhones, iPads, instantly operating websites. Shout out to the cassette tapes, CD Walkmans. We all remember those things, right? Yeah, CD Walkmans. Gen Z, y'all know what a CD Walkman is? Oh, man, y'all gonna learn something today. Y'all gonna learn today. CD Walkmans, cassette tapes, DVD players I found is actually, sometimes the Gen Zers won't know about those either, because everything is streamed now. But this is a new generation, and they have a lot of unique things that describe them, a lot of unique stats surrounding them. In the United States, Gen Z is the most racially and ethnically diverse generation so far. 48% of them identify as non-white compared to 39% of millennials. And Gen Z is also set to be, let me go back to that point really quick. Gen Alpha is the generation that is going to be after Gen Z, and they're going to be the first generation in United States history where more of them identify as non-white in the US than otherwise. And so this whole diversity conversation is not going anywhere anytime soon. I don't think it's a trend. I think it's a hot topic right now, but we're only going to have a more diverse country. So we need to be thinking about these things. Gen Z is also set to be the most well-educated generation thus far. I say not just in terms of traditional degrees like certifications and a college education, but also non-traditional education, which I'm going to talk about in this quick little story here about my encounter with a Gen Zer. So I was running this middle school class. It was a middle school workshop. It's called Silicon Valley 101. I asked the kids, how many of you all know what Silicon Valley is? Raise your hands. None of the kids, okay, I see some raised hands in here. That's cool. None of the kids in the class actually knew what Silicon Valley was. And so I taught these kids all about innovation, the silicon chip, and how all the things they use like smartphones and laptops are enabled in Silicon Valley. And then I did a Kahoot game. Shout out to the Kahoot. Have you all ever used Kahoot? Yeah, phenomenal. It's like I've ever seen so many grown adults compete so fiercely on a platform. It's great if you want to ever make something educational and competitive. So I had 30 players in my Kahoot game, right? And this was BC. This was before COVID, so it was a while back, right? This is back in the day when the screen would be behind you in the class. You know, I know a lot of us still may be presenting on Zoom classes and stuff. And so I remember I started presenting and the kids started giggling. And I'm like, what is so funny? And then the screen is behind me. I'm like, nothing's funny. This is competition time. We got to get serious. And so I turn around and I see that there's not 30 players in my class. There's 9,999 of them. And one of them's names is Poophead22. The other one is Your Mama 50, and I think my favorite one was Fart Daddy 44. Anyone want to shout out a guess as to what happened to me that day? Like, why did this happen to me? Anyone want to shout something out? A bot generator? Okay, smart answer. Troll, okay. Yeah, so it's kind of both. I had a troll, a bot generator, and a class clown all in one person. Now, it turns out that this student was actually the resident hacker, and he hacks into everybody's stuff. And that's like his way of being cute in the class. So the principal comes, he's outraged, he's like ready to put this kid on suspension. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You out-nerded the nerd. I gotta learn from you now. I'm the you're the master, I'm the apprentice, right? And so I'm like, hey man, how did you learn how to do that? And the reason by the way, the reason I found out who this was, you all know that the kid that's always laughing the hardest is probably the kid that did it, right? And so I took him to the back of the class, I'm like, hey man, how'd you learn how to do it? How did you learn how to do it? YouTube. Okay, YouTube, right? In fact, this kid had a bachelor's degree from the University of YouTube and watching YouTube videos. That's completely made up, just FYI, it's completely made. He watched a lot of YouTube videos and learned how to do it. But that's not a new story, right? How many of us have learned how to do something on YouTube? Shaking hands, doing tying a tie in this unique way. Apparently you can learn how to build a nuclear reactor on YouTube as well. Yeah, I did that because one time I was with a class of like 6th graders and they were like, you can't learn how to build a nuclear reactor. And I typed how to build a nuclear reactor and it came up, all right? So you have this entire generation now, right? Gen Z is digital natives. For most of their lives, they've been able to access how-to videos on how to do anything, educational or non-educational, on YouTube. And for that reason, it changes the way they perceive the world, they process information, and they think about things. So what does that mean for us, right? We're parents of Gen Zers, we're educators of Gen Zers, we're folks that are trying to recruit Gen Zers now as they're entering the workforce for a couple years. How do we think about engaging with them if this is their perspective on the world? I learned a few things. So in my work, I found that as an educator, we need to start shifting the way that we think about things. Talking at students is probably a less efficient way to use your time. If someone can come up with a 5-minute video with the best graphics in the world, and a Gen Z can access that at their fingertips, then why should they listen to your hour-long talk on the same subject? It kind of doesn't make sense anymore from an efficiency perspective. And so instead, because Gen Zers may not know how to navigate information as properly, depending on their age level, it's important for us to be facilitators of their usage and their search of this information. Another unconventional lesson I learned is that personal brands are the new job security. Personal brands are the new job security. Personal brands are the new job security. I'll say it 3 times because I think it's an interesting concept to think about. How many of us are Googling each other all the time, right? If you ever apply for a job, what do? You Google the job, right? If you're ever trying to hire an employee, what do? You Google the person, right? We're all looking for each other all the time, and what shows up on the internet affects how we perceive that individual or that organization. So that brand is now something that we all have control over, and I argue responsibility for. I think personal branding should be taught in every classroom all over the country. Even if you don't use it to become a YouTube celebrity, you can still leverage it in a lot of different ways. And I'll tell you a story about how that works. So this is me 10 years ago. I was in chemistry class with my thumb down. I was disengaged. I was one of those kids that didn't really feel like STEM was that cool. Like, I was not the kid that was invited to a lot of the STEM programs and didn't have a lot of access to these kind of technologies. Wasn't really my thing, right? I was actually such a class clown at the time that my Twitter name was @What Dat Booty Do. Yep, that one, yeah. It's not good social media etiquette, Gen Zers, just FYI, don't name yourself What Dat Booty Do. Don't be like me. But what I will say is I built a brand for myself. So when I would go to parties in high school, people would be like, hey, what that booty do? I'd never met these people before, but they knew me from my face and that name. And so obviously that's not the brand that you want to build for yourself, but it is a lesson in branding, right? And so, let's fast forward a few years. I turned things around. Like Rich said, I got a full scholarship at Hampton University and majored in marine environmental science. I ended up building a computer. Where did I learn how to build a computer, by the way? My major is marine science, ocean science. Where did I learn how to build a computer? YouTube University, right. So, learned how to build a computer, and I created this studio space, and I started making content. I made a name for myself around this whole STEM ecosystem. I was creating educational programs and creating brochures and curriculum, and I was reviewing different technologies, and I called it the Nerd Paradise. I built this on my own. I learned to build a studio space on YouTube too. And so I was recognized by LinkedIn as one of the top creators in the world on technology, right? And this got me recognition to be featured on Forbes. They called me the next Bill Nye, the science guy. That was kind of cool. And then Diversity Magazine, right? And that's all cool stuff that I was able to do because I literally branded myself. I built this reputation as the STEM guy. And so I have, let's go back. So millennials, right? When we think about millennials, what are some of the adjectives that we maybe heard used to describe millennials as they were entering the workforce? Lazy. I'm a millennial too. I'm taking, give me your best shot. Lazy. What else? Self-centered. Selfish. What else? Come on, I've heard it all. Entitled. Yes, what was that? I heard something over here. Non-committal. Exactly. So I would say, at least by that definition, I fit the stereotype. I got commitment issues. Look, my first year out of college, I worked in a tech job, and I only stayed there for a year. And since then, that was 2017, I've been on project to project to project to project. And most people that look at me think, this guy's got no job security, there's no way that he's able to navigate the world like this. But because I'm the STEM guy, and tens of thousands of people, probably hundreds of thousands now, know that I'm the STEM guy, I have next generation job security. There's always someone that needs a STEM program somewhere in the country or in the world. There's always someone that needs a keynote speaker. All these things are possible because of this reputation I've built. Even during the pandemic, right, when things went pretty crazy for a lot of my friends that had more secure jobs, arguably, than mine, because I was digital and everyone knew I was a STEM guy, I found ways to gainfully keep myself employed, right? And I'm not the only one. There's other people in STEM that are doing this, but there are other people in every other industry doing this. There are graphic designers, and maybe some of our Gen Zers know here, there are graphic designers who have Instagram pages, and that's all they need to survive. They post a design that they did for a client, and then they get likes on that, and then they get booked for another design, and they post that for their client, and they're getting booked and booked and booked and booked. And listen, you don't need to be a superstar to do this. You don't need 1 million followers to do this. I have a friend that's a full-time graphic designer with 1,000 followers on social media, which is pretty average for a millennial, and they're gainfully employed. This is their job security. So I want to show you all some other diverse role models that are doing some cool stuff in STEM. Dr. Corey Grayson, she's a friend of mine, biomedical engineer. It's a cool shirt she's got. This is what a scientist looks like. Dr. Kismeke Corbett, she worked on the vaccine with Moderna and National Institutes of Health. And also, my friend Lenora Porter, she designs things in UX. And then Marquez Brownlee, I don't know if anyone knows him, he's one of the biggest tech reviewers on the planet. All these people are under 30, well, actually, a few of them now are just recently over 30, but all of them are millennials that have built these names for themselves as people in the STEM landscape, and that's what's given them job security and the opportunity to employ others. So the other thing I think about, and again, I think a lot of you all understand this one, STEM is not a degree, it's a way of life. It's a way of thinking about the world, it's identifying problems and coming up with solutions to those problems. So, a quick story, we actually had a program in the Bahamas that we did in collaboration with some of my friends where the kids were working on 3D printing technology. And one of the kids had a missing stool on his couch, so it was kind of leaning to the right a little bit. And he 3D printed a stool and actually screwed that in to his couch. That was cool, but the kid got inspired and leveraged that knowledge to build a 3D printed prosthetic for his grandfather to perform therapy on his arm, right? And this is a kid that was empowered, that was previously disengaged, didn't really see the relevance of STEM, and didn't understand why he should be learning about this stuff in the first place. And that happens so often. I'll talk about that a little more. One of the other things I think is super important if we're engaging diverse people in STEM is that you cannot be what you cannot see, right? It's really hard for people, if they don't see it for themselves or see role models in the space, to actually consider these careers legitimate and feasible. And so this happens especially for Black and Latinx students. They leave STEM majors at twice the rate of their white counterparts, as well as representing only 12% of engineering workforces and a similar percentage of tech workforces and workforces across STEM, but representing 29% of the working population, right? So these are issues that we're all dealing with. But like I said, I'm a problem solver, I'm a builder, right? So I created this solution with some friends of mine that are in the space. We wanted to create a community of role models because a lot of times for diverse students or people that are entering this workforce with diverse backgrounds, I can say I've never not been someone that works hard. But if I'm in a community where I don't feel like I'm surrounded by people that understand me, I'm not as motivated to show up to work every day as my best self, right? And so we wanted to create that community for people, and we built what's called the STEM Success Summit. It's a free summit for folks ages 18 to 35 and helps you launch a meaningful career in STEM. We have thousands of people come out every year. This year, we're expecting 3,000 to 5,000 people. We were able to fund our dreams for this summit. These are some of the sponsors we had this year, and that's super important because there's a lot of grassroots initiatives out there that are funding STEM work, but by diverse people. But if they're not adequately funded, they're not able to achieve the scale that's necessary to solve these problems. So I'm not the only one out here. I'm just one that's been fortunate enough to leverage my experience to get access to funding. And of course, this year we have Dr. Kismeke-Corbett. She's actually one of our keynote speakers, so really excited about that. A couple of other cool role models that were mentioned. Last year, Idris Sandhu, some of you all may know, he just received, I think, $24 million from Jay-Z to build out the metaverse, which is like the 3D version of the internet. And who else? We have Jewel Burks this year as well. She's just raised a few $1 million with Collab Capital, which is a partner organization for Harlem Capital that was mentioned a little earlier. So what now, right? And as we're closing this off, I want to give you all a few gems, a few key takeaways for STEM diversity in 2021. And I don't think it's rocket science. I don't think this is the hardest thing in the world. I just think the right people need to be in the right places to solve the problem. One, advocate. How many of us have backgrounds in STEM at this point here? How many of us feel like we do the best that we can to publicly speak about our work? Or, okay, that's actually great. That's a great ratio. So I think if you're not doing that, it's really important to do it, to be on social media talking about what you do, to go on panels, to do speaking, because a lot of times in our culture, we're not taught to advocate. And I'll give you an example of this. That man there with the afro, that's my grandfather, my late grandfather. He passed away when I was 12 years old, and I always heard when I was growing up, he was like an electrical engineer or something. I didn't really know what that meant. I thought maybe he's like a train conductor or something like that. Like I had no idea. And in what I later found out was that right before college, the reason I actually majored in marine science was because I Googled my last name. Now, my grandfather was on my father's side, and I was raised only by my mother. And he begged my mother to give me his last name. And I was like, why is that such a serious thing for him to carry on this legacy? So I Googled the last name, and I found this, which is a patent he held for an early prototype of a circuit in the VCR. And that blew my mind. I was like, wait a minute. This stuff is, I always liked planets and, building computers and stuff like that, but I never really had access to it. It's like, this is in my blood, though. And that's what made me go on to major in marine science, graduate at the top of my class, and do all the other things I did in STEM. That was one of the sparks for me. But because my grandfather was of a culture in STEM that was all about results and not talking about what you do, but being in the lab, building your prototypes, he didn't advocate to me what it was that he did. And that's, no shame on him. I think it's a shame on the culture that we've built in STEM, where it's all results oriented and we don't think about the intangibles, the unquantifiables. If kids feel inspired to pursue these kind of careers just because you look like them and talk to them and seem cool and relatable, that may give them the intrinsic motivation they need to solve all the other problems that we talk about as it pertains to STEM diversity. Another thing I think is really important is making STEM practical. And I heard a lot of examples, and I saw a lot of examples of that today, so that's awesome. I used to do this community program in the Bronx, and it was focused on biochemistry. And one of the kids asked me, he said, I'm trying to help my mom. He's a high school age kid. He's like 16 or 17. He's like, I'm trying to help my mom put food on her table. Why should I care about biochemistry if it's not helping me do that? That's my top goal right now. And I think he's right. I think a lot of kids today suffer from PTSD as it pertains to science. Poor teaching of science disorder, all right? It's like you get a bunch of facts about metamorphic and igneous rocks, and you're like, okay, what am I gonna do with this information, right? It doesn't have any practical applicability. But if you teach STEM as a tool, and I saw some great examples of this today, that students can use to solve problems they care about, that it doesn't feel as daunting for them. It doesn't feel like rote memorization, where they're just memorizing facts that they can just Google search later, right? So make it practical, and there's some cool examples of this. So a lot of the students that we worked with, for chemistry, we helped young students build hair products, literally create their own hair products. And there's chemists at top hair companies all over the country making $500,000 a year doing the same thing, right? That's chemistry, making your own hair products. A lot of kids are interested in sports. We do sports physics programs where they understand the trajectory and the parabolic motion of the ball that they're shooting, right? This gives them an edge over their opponents on the basketball court or on the football field or on the soccer field. These are ways to make things practical and engaging. I always want to shout out some really specific things that I use. Esports, I had a great panel about that earlier, I wish I was able to attend. Citizen science as well is another good one. A lot of students' complaints about science is that, well, I'm doing this science in class, but it's not going to ever have any effect on the real world, where actually through citizen science, you can literally contribute to actual research that's going on, like counting the amount of bugs near the coast of Lake Michigan. Like there's research studies like that out there that you can do for students. PhET interactive simulation is another good one. If you're an educator, you may not have access to lab resources every day, and this gives you a bunch of simulated laboratory environments to simulate different science experiments. I think it's really cool. And this is a project I'm actually building myself. We're gamifying STEM education. It's called Beyond, and this is the first product that we released. It's called the Career Finder. And basically, you can have a casual conversation, and the QR code works. You can have a casual conversation with this chatbot as a kid, and it'll tell you what kind of career that you may be most eligible for in STEM. I think it's a really cool product that we're working on, just to be practical, to solve the problem, to make it make sense for the kids. Again, I think a huge opportunity that we have here today through the internet and social media is exposure of diverse STEM communities and role models. You know, if you feel like you have role models and peers in the space, then you don't feel like you're alone. And that's what I felt like almost all of my life as I was navigating the STEM career space. So there's a bunch of organizations that focus on this. And of course, STEMPOWER is doing an amazing job with this. NSBE, SHIP, SACNAS, STEM Media is actually a friend of mine's organization. It's a social media. They post a lot of content on social media highlighting diverse STEM professionals that are doing really cool things in the space. So there's no way that a kid today can say, I don't have a role model. Like if they're plugged into these organizations and the content that they're putting out, then they should know about people that look like them that are doing cool things in the STEM space. So these are a few more resources. These are a bunch of free resources that are on my website for STEM education purposes. Could be helpful. I'll pause for a second here for you all to take a few photos. And I think we're still good on time. We're going to wrap things up here. All right, let's give you all a couple seconds. Cool, okay, all right. More phones going up. All right, cool, thank you. And one of the things I want to leave you all with, your role model today is a Google search away, right? All these people now that I talked about in STEM, they understand the power of personal branding. They have LinkedIn and Instagram pages that showcase what a day in their life looks like, to the point where you can literally Google search Black engineer or Hispanic chemist, and there will be a person that comes up with a personal brand that shows you what a day in their life looks like. So this is something that every kid today has access to at their fingertips. And I always say, information is everywhere, but inspiration is not, right? These Gen Z kids, they may have access to a bunch of information, but as the mentees, the educators, and the recruiters of these Gen Zers, it's up to us to inspire them where to look. And we can help point them in the right directions. This is another thing I like to focus on too. So these are terms that I used to hear about myself growing up, and these are terms that we all use, whether it's in grant-making language, whether it's applying for different programs. It's under-resourced, marginalized, underserved, and they're less than adjectives. So as a kid growing up in a single-parent home on the south side of Chicago, a lot of these adjectives were used to describe kids like me, to my face. And so when I heard those things, I internalized that I was less than other kids. I was not served as well. I didn't have as many resources. And so that made me think that I could never be as much as those kids. So I prefer to use the term, if we're going to speak to the kids directly, like I understand grant-making language and things like that, but if we're going to speak to the kids directly, I always prefer to use the term underestimated, because I think that's what society is actually doing. These are kids that maybe are counted out, these are kids that are disregarded, and these are kids that you don't see the potential that they have and the resilience that they have to navigate their lives on a daily basis. And that same resilience that they have today can be used to succeed at the highest levels of STEM and any other type of job that they enter. So underestimated is the adjective I prefer to use. So I want to give you all a quick glimpse into the future here. I think a solution to world hunger, a solution to the next and every future global pandemic, I think the keys to bringing us on Mars, the keys to keeping our planet sustainable could exist in the minds of young people today that haven't felt like STEM is for them. And it's up to us as folks that are in STEM, as educators, as parents, to light that spark in those kids so that they can see STEM in their future and change our world for the better. Thank you all so much. My name is Mr. Fascinate, and thank you all so much for bringing me out.
Out of the park. All right, sounds all right. Thank you, Justin. Fantastic, inspirational, a lot of great tips, but if you could deliver it with a little more energy next time, that would be good, because, kidding. No, it was excellent, and a lot of great reminders. I feel like I want to go find some Gen Zers, because I'm really going to know how to relate and connect with them on STEM. So maybe that's what I'll do after the conference. We'll have to see, or at the conference. So, but thank you again. Please come back and visit us anytime in Milwaukee. We'd love to have you back. All right, looking ahead, transitioning to the close of our day. Oh, thank you. It happened magically. So we're going to catch our breath a little bit. I know we've been in the ballroom for over an hour, so take a little break. And then we will close out our day with our last round of breakouts, starting at 1:30. We did not have time for Q&A with Justin, so he will be in the center room, center breakout room. If you'd like to ask some questions or comment or connect with Justin a little bit more, you can do that. Mark Zakar from the Data Institute will be leading session number 2, Data for Good, about community partnerships and leveraging tech volunteers. Really interesting stuff. And then if you're interested in finding out more about Wisconsin's computer science plan, which it's really exciting what's happening in computer science. We know these are future forward skills, and we seem to be doing better and better. So you will hear from DPI and CISA 1 what Wisconsin is doing in computer science. So lots of great choices. You get a little bit of break, but please be at the sessions by 1:30 so that we can close out the day with that. And with that, just a couple of housekeeping items. You will all be emailed a evaluation for today's conference. Please complete it. We'd like to improve next year's conference any way that we can. And then just finally, one last thank you to all of our presenters, the committee, our supporters, our sponsors, and of course our award winners, all our STEMmy recipients. So with that, thank you for attending STEMnow. It's not over. But we'll disband our general session. Thank you, everybody.